What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Sinead O'Connor as we continue with the 1994 album Universal Mother. And the next song on the playlist is A Perfect Indian. A cryptic phrase. My first thought is I wonder, does Indian mean someone from India, as I would be more inclined to see it given that Sinead is from Ireland. But if someone was from North America, there's at least the possibility they're talking about an indigenous person or a Native American, as is sometimes said. All these words have nuanced usage, meaning there are people who view the words differently and they can have more or less relevant application depending on the context. Nevertheless, as I said, my first thought is that this maybe relates more to someone from India. Of course, it could be not an actual person. It could be, a figurine or something like in the scene that is being described. I would also point out perfection, it's inherently a subjective term, meaning there's an implicit value judgment. Something could be completely efficient or have absolute characteristics, but it's not until there's a subjective observer that it can be assessed as perfect. So yeah, it's an interesting phrase. There's a bit of poetry to it, but also a bit of uncertainty, especially about the final word. So let's see what it is in practice. This is Sinead O'Connor. The song is A Perfect Indian, and it's from her 1994 album Universal Mother.
A perfect Indian is he, remembering him life is sweet, like a weeping willow, his face on my pillow comes to me still in my dreams. And there I saw a young baby, a beautiful daughter was she, a face from a painting, red cheeks and teeth aching, her eyes like a wild Irish sea, on a table in her yellow dress. For a photograph
about that line. I worried about it the first time I heard it. Well, what's the only way to be free? I mean, it could be something more innocuous, even desirable, breaking with the past or trying to unmoor yourself from this emotional memory, dream, maybe both. But I also wondered if it was to throw yourself into this uncertain ocean. But okay, so like first I'm thinking this is a former partner or lover, and you're saying like you can see his face and talking about when his head was on your pillow. And then I was thinking, oh, and then she's maybe talking about like the father of her child, but then she started describing the child, her eyes or the daughter's eyes are like a wild iris sea and so on. So it's like, okay, so like it could be her daughter, but apparently, maybe of mixed heritage. But then it's like she seemed to be saying, there was a moment where I was like, wait, like, is this about her dad, I wonder? Because, people said her mom and she had a complicated relationship, and her mom may not have been entirely well in terms of, her mental health or so on when she was raising Sinead. So I thought, like, oh, maybe this is like her mom's story, but like said in the first person, and she's the child with the wild Irish eyes. I don't know. I didn't hear all of it clearly enough to get a sense, and I do wonder exactly the identity of this perfect Indian. But like, it sounds like, relative to the narrator and maybe the daughter and whoever Sinead is in this equation, that the guy was not around for all that long, and he eventually left, and she still sees him in her dreams. And then there's that line near the end where she's like, I'm wondering, are you a dreamer like me? Which could just be like, do you have the same personality? Did I inherit your personality? But it could also be like, do you dream of me? Do you remember this child? Which again, I guess in this interpretation I'm seeing Sinead as actually the child. But either way, like whether it's about Sinead's former lover or something that she had a child with, it sounds like that line could be like, are you similar to me, but also are you thinking of me? Are you dreaming of me the same way I am of you? So a beautiful tune. In the latter stages, it felt like she deliberately kind of let her voice go out of the melodic pocket a bit, almost like, the intensity of feeling was like overtaking her. So it was actually very moving, even if it was like, in terms of the pitch, maybe less perfect. But yes, beautiful vocals, and in the first part, I was thinking like it's a really moving tune sonically, where her voice is just fitting with the feel of the piano and just this overall atmosphere. And there were a couple moments where I could like hear her mouth like, sort of taking a breath, or like the sound of her lips like between the lines, which again, I talked about it, I think in this deep dive, also in Tori Amos's deep dive, where you hear that a lot. It gives an intimacy and a human quality to the delivery, even if like in other recordings, other artists, they might edit that out or try to minimize it in the mix. So yeah, a beautiful tune. I don't quite know what to make of it. I look forward to any insights people will have. Let me know. And now that I say that, Universal Mother, I feel like maybe the album title is relevant here. I guess we'll see. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.